on, everybody?
Yeah, we out here. Episode 12.
There we go. 1,
Fuck
2,
12.
2, 1. Yeah, fuck 12. Anyway, and oh man, here we are, Alec. It's beautiful to be looking at your face. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing well, Steven. It's quite good to see you. You know, just out here living it up. Not really, because we're all in a bear market. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I get
but
that.
staying afloat, out here floating, and just doing my thing, dude. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing pretty dang good, actually. Man, the bear market makes you feel a little bit like slowing down. And I don't know, it has its pros and its cons. Like, I remember back in like 2017, 2018, when Bitcoin was like super euphoric, I was like, oh my gosh, like there's all this stuff that I could do with crypto, but I feel like it's just gonna blow up and I missed my chance. So like it's weird how bear markets kind of give you a chance to literally just kind of like crawl back into your cave and kind of like recalculate and just kind of bask and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, this is definitely. I don't know how many people are actually enjoying this moment. I know I wouldn't call it very enjoyable, but you know, it's.
Well, this moment
we
we're
can live
sharing
through it.
together, so this moment is great and uplifting, right?
Yeah, stronger together, they say. United
yeah.
we stand, divided we fall. So
Divide
don't
and
sell.
conquer.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
I feel that, man. It's what do you think is making you feel that way? Like, are you checking your portfolio, seeing the value? Like, what can you like describe kind of why you feel a little bit down, other than maybe the obvious?
it's a combination of all that, dude. I mean, it's never fun losing money, especially excuse me, especially since I've been in since I saw it hit $500 and
Yeah.
seeing my portfolio at that value and then watching it, continue to drop and drop and drop and drop and now here we are. And so, I just gotta just keep walking forward, and I'm fine with it. I
Yeah.
believe in the project, like I always say.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just here for the long-term investment, and
Right. The classic.
yeah, I mean, you can't beat the market. I mean, you can if you're doing other things, but anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get in. That reminds me of, I don't know how much you're into all of the stuff. I know that you've got your own things that you're keeping aligned. We'll get into it, but I'm curious, with that being said, did you hear about like the Celsius short squeeze and everything that's going on there?
I heard about like Celsius halting their trades,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm pretty sure just like there was a price collapse, right? But I don't know anything about what was to follow.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it, but rewinding, so it sounds like, well, initially you said that you feel kind of down, and it's not because you're looking at your portfolio, but when I asked you the reasoning for that, you said, well, I saw it go from 500 and it keeps going down and down and down. So, I mean, it sounds like it's because of your portfolio value.
Yeah, for sure.
Got you. I was curious if there are other things, other parts that you wanted to talk about, but what is it? Just straight up portfolio, where you bought, kind of your average buy, and it's just that feeling of, it's a little bit low.
And like I'm just like I guess I just haven't been staying on top of Twitter as much, but everything has just felt not as exciting right now, and maybe that's just the nature of things, and no matter what news comes out, it always seems underwhelming, and and I continue to wait for what we're all waiting for, which is Macroeconomic upgrades, which continues to be pushed.
Yeah.
And like
you and I are back again together, and we still don't have any resolution on that.
surprise.
I hate to say, or I don't know if I hate or what, but like I'm surprised. I will actually say that I am surprised, because I'm not sure which episode it was, but it was right after Benjamin tweeted like 1 to 2 weeks, like it will be out. So, team is doing great. A lot of things are pushing forward, as we'll get into. But I will say that, like, all right, as we've talked in other episodes too, Alec, you're like, oh, well, like roadmaps can be adhered to as long as it's written down. That's one thing. But I just think that it is one particular thing for the CEO to broadcast a specific time window and what to expect. And I mean, like, no offense and not a dog on the team, but I mean, that was just complete BS. Like, it was like 1 to 2 weeks, and like that was a month and a half ago at very least.
Yeah, dude. I think a lot of us are. I think you may not be the only one that's surprised about this. It seems like whenever the team does release a roadmap, it does seem to get delayed. But this seems like a really important roadmap because it's one that people have been asking for a long time. It's kind of loud how disappointed some people are with the current status of Macroeconomics. And a lot of people have been looking forward to an upgrade. So, like, this is definitely, like, a big one to continue to push off. But judging by his most recent tweets, or going back, I think it was July 26th when he tweeted that they're going to be, hopefully, they're doing, like, peer review, and then they should be releasing it. So, we'll see now.
Yeah, and speaking of Macroeconomics, just to get a little update on what we're looking at here, that I think it was a couple episodes now, I talked about the eCompass website, talking about how much has been burned, and the progress on that is still relatively minimal. There's still 32% of MEX not yet distributed, 67% is in circulating, and only 0.43% has been burned. And of that 0.43% that's been burned, 72% has come from withdrawal fees, whereas 27% from transaction fees. So, gosh, I mean, like you kind of said, you haven't been on Twitter maybe day in and day out and stuff. But I mean, I see a lot of stuff in passing, and I think it's something I've seen a lot is people trying to project when the MEX economics, as they exist right now, will really start to take effect. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on what sort of timeline? I mean, obviously you have MEX. I think you have LKMEX only. You don't have any MEX, right?
Yeah, I own no MEX at all.
Yeah. Remember like episode 2 or 3 of podcast Elrond when I was like, I'm going fully tilted into MEX? Dude, I'm curious though, like what if back then I really did just like farm it and just put everything in MEX? I wonder where my portfolio would be right now. Like I would have to do some calculations.
I don't think it'd be good, Steven.
Probably not. I mean, I don't have any regrets. Like, there's no part of me that's like, oh, I really wish maybe one day. But there's no part of me that's like, oh man, I really wish that I would have held all of that MEX and just farmed it and just crossed my fingers for the first class citizenship.
Yeah, I think like it was just a matter of time before things started collapsing on MEX because like it just didn't seem like it was gonna go anywhere, and I think.
Well, but that's not you developed that idea over time. I mean, when MEX launched and demand was pumping it to all-time highs, higher than what we swapped it for. Like, I mean, when was the paradigm shift? Was it purely kind of directed by the price? Because we were all bullish on MEX at one point. I know I was anyway.
Yeah, I was definitely bullish on MEX, especially at the very beginning when we watched it. Like. What did it do? Like a, I don't know. It was like a ridiculous X on the first day. We were just watching.
Yeah.
Bam, 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 and like I was like, okay, this thing probably has some promise here because I think the team has a vision and they have some utility in mind. And so far, I don't see much of a vision behind MEX, and I really hope this economics upgrade is going to prove me wrong because I don't even have my LP pairs with LKMEX anymore because I'm scared of the liquidity. The loss, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna hang on to that LKMEX, wait for it to unlock, and quit the trading on the LKMEX exchange because even now the exchange rate is absolute butt.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's rough, dude. Like, I kind of wish I, exchanged when it was at $1 million.
Oh, my gosh. Like, yeah. I mean, Yeah, we've talked about the LKMEX and exchange and all that good stuff, but looking back on what the exchange rate used to be, yeah, like I know that I think I did end up swapping the majority of my LKMEX for a million per EGLD, and that was, I mean, at that time, even then, people were like, "Oh my gosh, like why would you do such a thing, like, and take that loss?" But dude, like. It turned out to be some very not profitable trades because I'm not selling for profit unless you consider that Elrond profit earning more EGLD. But yeah, like I think especially to the recent Maiar Launchpad project has kind of enticed people to want to desire more Elrond. I think that's something I saw speculated online was, oh, because you need these tickets for the launch pad and everything, people are kind of looking at the opportunity of holding Elrond versus LKMEX, and it's like, all right, like it's almost as if people are really kind of forgetting that there is this loss of switching between LKMEX and Elrond. But it's just like, as I say, kind of the price you have to pay, because what can LKMEX do for you other than farm and meta bond? And I guess unless there's anything else, just those things. But Elrond is, its liquidity, cash is king, and obviously it gives you tickets, or rather it allows you to get involved in the Maiar Launchpad. So it's clear why more people want Elrond.
Allows some to get involved in the Maiar Launchpad, like in
yeah, we know. No U.S.
Yeah.
customers, KYC.
Yeah, I know, and I understand that if they were to do KYC, there's a whole bunch of hurdles that they would have to jump over, but
yeah.
like that's really quite a big thing to be missing out on.
Yeah.
And I almost, I kind of wish I did, because I think prices. Anyways, I'll stray from this, but I just. Like it's supposed to incentivize, people to hold on to their Elrond and keep it staked, but like how do you incentivize U.S. customers to keep holding on when everything is entering a bear market and cryptocurrency is no different, So like,
Yeah, it's definitely tricky, and I know last we talked, we covered specifically what happened with the exploit on Elrond, and before that, it was at the very beginning of June, so it's definitely been some time since we last talked. So I may have mentioned it, but yeah, I'm back to staking Elrond, and that's really for security purposes. That 10-day unbonding is convenient, just in the event that there is some sort of way that somebody gets into my wallet, which I don't foresee, but it's just kind of like, worst case scenario, I always kind of it's on a separate wallet. Like I just have some Elrond over there, so even whenever I open up Maiar DEX and look at my account balance, like I'm like, oh, like my portfolio isn't doing that bad, and then I'm reminded that, oh, I also have like Elrond that I'm staking, and then I also even have the ZoidPay shopping pool that's just kind of out there, and then there's something to be said about my NFT portfolio. So I mean, I'm not sure if I did this intentionally by design psychologically, but it's like, bro, like I don't even really know what my portfolio value is, and I'll go ahead and say that is, I think, helpful to almost just masquerade or kind of hide the true value of your portfolio, because it's just like, oh my gosh, like we're in a bear market, we've been going downwards for over 6 months now, and it's just like, I mean, I'm not sure if it's just because I'm an earlier investor or what it is, but I don't know, it's just. I digressing, just the long-term hold is, I think, really beneficial from a investment and appreciation standpoint, but also too just psychology and just all these ups and downs of the market,
Yeah, dude, it's definitely been quite a few ups and downs too, because I think we hit a low of $38 and we bounced all the way back up to around 64.
Yeah.
So if you're buying at 38, damn, that's a good profit margin there. But
yeah, have
a
you
lot
been?
of people,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, but I was curious if you bought the dip at all anymore.
I did not. A lot of people, as it went back up, I was like, oh shit, I should have bought around the $40 mark. But at the same time, I was like, Alec, relax, dude. This is a dead count bounce, as everyone was calling, and I was like, yeah, it probably fucking is. This is just a quiet bounce, and then we're heading lower, and here we are sitting around what,
$50.
yeah, we're going lower, bro. And I mean, I'm not trying to like be a pessimist in this market, but
No,
I'm just,
dude. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I'm just trying to call it how it is, man. Like I really think we're going lower, and I mean, nothing is turning around in the market anywhere. You know, like it's fucking awful, and everyone is like eating dirt unless you're trading options and doing puts, and that's the only way you're winning. And but like here we are. This is the state of things, and you know, like do what's best for you and de-risk if necessary, and
Yeah.
like you know, like take care of yourself, man. That's all I got to say to those out there who may be over leveraged. I'm not selling my EGLD. I'm not at all.
There we go. Nice. Good
You
to
know,
know.
I have a I'm doing fine. I have a steady job and all that good stuff. So as I see it, but I'm talking to you, all those people who are like out there, like on their last dollar, like hopium in it, you know, like pure hopium to the veins kind of thing. I'm like, dude, like take care of yourself, man, and
For sure.
NFA, you know.
Yeah, and I'm curious because I know, as you mentioned, I know you bought Elrond earlier, and then once the Maiar DEX approached, that's when you really saw the golden opportunity. So up until then, though, I mean, kind of share more about your investment background for the viewers, because obviously you knew about Bitcoin and stuff, but for a while you had been and talking to me about your leverage and options trading and getting into different groups and just immersing yourself in sort of this leverage type market. So I just share with the viewers about your past, your history, and if you get around to it, the question is how you think that maybe those options trades and that psychology of trading those markets may or may not have influenced your perspective on a long-term holding strategy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I had been in the crypto market before I started doing options trading, and then
But you were just doing options for like stocks, like were you doing any options on crypto?
no, I tried
Gotcha.
it for
Go
like a
ahead.
second, and I lost like $200, and I was like, screw this, and I got out of that. But I was just trading straight up options on what was I using? Webull, and I at the beginning I was doing pretty well, and everything was going pretty good, and eventually, you know, greed takes over, and I started over leveraging and putting too much on the line. I'd be up and I wouldn't think I was up enough, and then therefore I would eventually be down.
Yeah.
So that was my downfall when it came to that. And then I saw this opportunity with EGLD, and I was like, okay, this feels like a safer route rather than me constantly betting cash every day on whether or not the market's going to move up or down.
Yeah.
A long-term hold seems like a more logical solution for someone like me who is very willing to take on risk. And so I have to do something to like mitigate that kind of behavior that I have.
Yeah.
And so I figured crypto might have been the way to do that kind of thing, because I saw the fact that I would still get passive income and get income like I was getting with options trading, because every day, at the end of the day, I was left with cold hard cash when I was doing options trading
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And when I'm making passive income on the Maiar DEX, I was like, okay, I'm not putting, you know, it on the line, and it can theoretically all go to zero in an instant, but like the likelihood was way less than compared to when I was doing options trading.
It's a bit ironic.
Yeah,
I mean,
it truly is.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend as though it didn't happen, because we do need to get more into that, just resolving the discussion on the exploit that happened on the Elrond Network. But that's, you know, we putting that into the future, because you're wrapping up just what you were saying. I was interested in what you were saying there.
Yeah, but I just, you know, so it seemed like a good de-risking strategy, and it had proven to be for quite a while. Everything was going, you know, fantastic. But, you know, it's a bear market. I'm not blaming anything on the team or anything like that. This is just the nature of things, as I said before. So
Yeah.
My speculative voice right now, it's just, you know, can't help but be this way because, you know, the portfolio doesn't look great.
Yeah.
But other than that, dude, like,
So,
you
I
know,
mean, I'm getting around to it. Like, I mean, how do you think that, or rather, do you think that there was some kind of like psychological, true like impact? You know, like the brain is a muscle memory is a thing. The more kind of ingrained something gets, the more your brain is kind of like geared to think that way. Do you think that, I mean, and it could just be human feelings or emotions, but do you think that your engagement in these options trades before you kind of got into the DEX, like, do you feel as though that does impact the way you feel and the fact that we're in a bear market?
uh, I don't think so, man. Like losing money when I was doing options trading, it's the same as feeling as losing money now. Like
Yeah.
it's just it is what it is. Like I don't think there's any like cycle. Like I guess I just don't know how to answer that question. I hope that answered it, man. But like I just I don't think it had any influence. Like
Yeah.
I was just I'm here for the ride, and I decided to play something long term because I've been screwed by not playing something long term in the past, and I decided this is the time when it's different. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was just curious because I know you did some options and leverage in the past, and I didn't. I mean, that's one of those things that I've always stayed far away from. Part of the reason I think that could be is because of just advice that I've seen on the internet, just how crypto is so volatile that you don't need to engage in, using high leverage to kind of get a piece of the pie. And when it comes to the stock market in general, like I own some Tesla stock from when I worked for them, but I was thinking about this yesterday, and it's like, man, like it's almost as though I was able to and am able to invest a high percentage of my net worth in cryptocurrency and just save my money into it, primarily because I mean, going to school for finance, I learned some things about, true underlying money dynamics, but it was just like, all right, this is complicated and it's controlled by a central entity. So it's almost as like my success to trade for the long term really was able to develop and grow confidence because I just looked at fiat currency, at US dollar, and I just saw it as like this inflationary asset that, although it's stable, I was just like, oh no, like it's going to collapse one day, and like when that happens, like I'm going to be on the right side of the coin. So I don't know, it's just the conversation about examining just kind of like the financial or the money scripts that we have developed, whether it be from growing up and kind of the way that we were raised, where we were raised, how our parents dealt with money, what sort of conversations they had about it. Was this an open conversation, if your parents were having hard times, or if they were making good money, if they shared that with you? That's some of the big key elements that I feel like I took away from my schooling, was just how deep those roots of money go. And what, in the same way as a tree kind of grows, it's like even whenever it's a little seedling, like those roots become 20-30 years old. And it's just really it's exciting because everybody has such a unique relationship with money.
yeah, and I hope what I'm saying doesn't come across as me being just like highly disappointed in how things are. I mean, I definitely am.
Yeah.
But like
I can
I'm not.
sense that too, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm like also like like I'm not like destroyed over it at all. I just wish it was better because I
Yeah.
missed the times when things were green. And who doesn't?
Right.
Who likes seeing a red portfolio? No one at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I think that is how I feel too. But I do definitely see silver linings, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the video. Like, even when obviously you and I started podcast Elrond last November, and the months after that, it was like, oh my gosh, like build, push, push, push. And Ali, I mean, just it's funny, like full transparency, like there were some times that I was really trying to push, and Alec, you were just kind of like, we're just like chugging away, like we're growing. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, is like, I don't know if it's just my Not euphoria, though there is some euphoria in it, but just like excitement over just this whole, just big conversation of decentralization and blockchain. But like I said, like maybe speaking for myself, like it does feel good to kind of turn down those positive emotions, and it gives me chances to kind of just feel like the world is something that can be grasped in terms of what we're reaching for, what we're trying to accomplish. Like, and that's what, even whether it is a bigger recession or depression that we go into, like that is, kind of the silver lining of even a recession. Is just a time of decreased economic activity. Like maybe some people out there were just spending too much money on buying things for themselves, or just not being very good stewards of their money. So I don't know, like I said, I think a lot of how I feel is governed by the fact that I've been in the space for a while, and my position overall is still up. Like I'm still in the green. But man, like rewinding to 2017, like I don't know if it makes you, Alec, feel better, because obviously me personally, and you've kind of seen my journey as we graduated school and everything. But like, man, like try to place yourself, like I'm not saying this as kind of like a boast or anything, but like try to place yourself on kind of like my timeline of whenever I discovered crypto, started investing in it, and just remind yourself and everybody out there listening that like, dude, like I literally was just like in a losing position. Like I bought the top in 2017, and I bought the whole way down for a year, and after an entire year of sideways chugging movement, the market really capitulated at about $6,000-7,000 and fell to $3,000. So again, this is not a boast. More so, it's just like, an idea of sticking to the script. And as much as the euphoria and the bull market really makes us all feel like we're just going to moon and retire next week, like, riding a losing position may last some time. And I know that you believe this. I'm just saying it just, to ingrain it in, and just almost try to just fuel you and fuel anybody who's looking at a red portfolio. Because it's like, dude, like I said this back through 2017, 2018, 2019, like it's gonna happen. And the whole world was full of people talking down on crypto. Yeah, cameras died there. But yeah, just wrapping up what I was saying, just bro, like if I was with you, I wouldn't slap you, but let me give you like this just metaphorical, figurative slap of like, dude, like stop giving a shit about your red portfolio, because I just am confident that it's going to pan out. And when I was riding a horribly losing position, like there was just no hope. But it didn't help to look at it and to even calculate, oh my gosh, like how down I am in my position. Because I mean, a bigger emphasis too is back then, like I was buying Bitcoin, and I think I had 20 different cryptocurrencies, none of which were staking, none of which there was no conversation of Web3 and play to earn and NFTs. And so I'm just, dude, just believe me that if the market can make a return based off of cryptocurrency is just a store of value, you buy Bitcoin and you hold it. If that concept can come back and fuel a run to $69,000, think about how vast the ecosystem is growing, and projects like Elrond coming along to revolutionize Bitcoin and revolutionize Ethereum. And it's just like, man, like I know this is maybe a little bit of hopium, but sometimes, when hopium is founded in maybe true conviction, it's okay. Hopium isn't always bad. But dude, like this isn't so much as like a don't look at your red portfolio, but Alec, fucking buy the fucking dip. Like, man, I mean, yeah, we might go down, like retest lows of below $40, even $20, even $10. But at that point, like, again, the lower it goes, the more you can buy, and the more Elrond you have, stake that shit. And then the, cheaper Elrond you got more of will literally earn you more staking rewards. So like, dude, like also congratulations, got a pay raise. but man, like, I know you've got a lot going on, and I know you're going to do what you do, but I think the best way to feel better about a red portfolio, just buy the dip. And just we'll get into some more things about what I see kind of developing in the ecosystem, because man, like, get excited and like literally, like, I don't know if there's some way that you can trick your mind into just like buying the dip, or whatever it is, just even forgetting about it, closing the laptop, walking away, whatever it is. Like, man, like, believe me, listen to me, that this market is not going anywhere. And man, I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, I don't think it's going anywhere, man. I'm still excited, and I still think the Elrond team's got some dope stuff going on. It's just a
For
matter
sure.
of I am being as realistic as I can be about this market and the
Yeah.
conditions that the overall market is facing, because none of it looks good for anyone. And
I
even
disagree. I mean, me, like, I'm an example
I,
of that.
I
I mean,
mean, you disagree.
you
We
can't.
disagreed a while back on another podcast about whether or not it's going down, and here we are, Steven. We're continuing to go down, dude, and we're going to continue to go down,
And
man.
I'm unfazed like that.
I mean, you can be unfazed, dude, but it doesn't change the fact that the price continues to go lower.
But I think that the emphasis is that there's the longer time goes on, the larger the collection of people will be that feel like me. And I'm not trying to be boastful or anything. And I don't know, like you said it yourself, like the bear market just kind of chugs downward and sideways. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is just the repercussions of time and, just digesting. So I don't know, like, it depends on when you got into the market. And I don't really know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I mean, like, I am unfazed, and I will continue to be bullish. And even if the price goes down, like, I know that in one of the episodes we talked about how, some people are calling for a time when literally, like, the smiles are wiped off of the face. And I think that was probably close to 130, 150 in price. So yeah, man, like, I mean, what can I say? Like, you are right, and the bear market sucks. And what else am I gonna do? Like, I can't just be like, yeah, man, it sucks, and crypto is boring, and maybe one day it'll come back. Like, I'm trying to get you hyped up, get you excited, and just remind you. And I know you know these things, but I gotta say it.
Yeah, I'm not unhyped, dude. Like, I love the things that the team is doing. It's just like, I'm not buying the dip yet because we're not at its lowest low.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to continue to drop, and I'm going to wait until I feel like we're actually at a low, because
Yeah.
so far I don't see any signs of anything turning around right now. No matter how many projects get released, no matter what good news comes out,
Yeah.
you can't. Nothing is truly decoupled from the traditional markets.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I'm just, right in the macro scale of things.
Yeah. So in terms of like your strategy there's one analyst that I kind of follow, and he's very kind of sound of mind. Like, I try to disagree with him, like, whether it be literally or just kind of in my head, because he's always like, oh, this is, the nature of these cycles, and this 4-year cycle idea and what to expect. And you know me, Alec, like, I am literally just a perma bull. So I'm curious to hear your expectations of what to expect from both traditional and crypto markets I'll just say up through the end of 2022.
I think, I mean, I don't see any relief in gas prices. I don't see any relief in food prices. I don't see anything like truly changing to like turn things around right now. And everything just continues to get more expensive, and inflation just gets worse. So I'm just, I just think things are going to get worse in the market. I can't say how much worse, because I haven't done any analytics, and this is all just gut feeling.
Yeah.
And but like, I don't see anything that suggests that things are starting to turn around. I just see trends continuing towards a downward cycle, and stocks that used to be growth stocks are Meta, I think, is now being considered a value stock instead of a growth stock.
What's the difference between those two?
A value stock is something that you just buy and hold because it's not really going to appreciate as much. But a growth stock is something that's, like Tesla, or any like EV charging station.
So it has to do with like expected volatility.
I believe so, yes. And so I don't know, like it just seems like, things are all news seems to be pointing towards, we're in this for a little bit longer. And, everything turns around. And usually when it turns around, it comes back even stronger. And so where I'm at right now is I'm like, we're still going down, baby. And I'm here, your boy's here. Mm-hmm. But your boy ain't participating until I actually believe we're on the ground floor.
Yeah. So do you expect, since we're, this is podcast Elrond, so it sounds like you expect the local lows of about $37 to be retested. Do you have, it's, as you said, it's all feeling and how you're, looking around macro and everything. But do you, like I said, it's going to be feeling for you and for everybody. But do you have any, I don't know, are you almost like setting yourself for like a bad case scenario and in that trying to like plan like what dollar you like, do you have a dollar that you're like, that's the amount that I'm gonna start buying the dip?
I think when it starts to retest that $38 low and stuff, I think around the 20s and 30s are gonna be where I'm feeling real comfortable. I can't really see it going any lower than that. It just wouldn't make sense to me. And if it does, well, I'm proven wrong. Yeah. But, like, if it does go lower than that, if it hits $10, I'll keep buying. But, like, in that area, dude, I'm totally comfortable. But around $60, I'm like, dude, we retested 38 not too long ago. I'm not pulling a trigger on this right now. That's
for
risky.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and again, I don't know how much you follow along on. I haven't been doing a great amount of analyses and everything, but it's really tricky for me to really post anything at this point because in a bull market, it's easy to be like, oh my gosh, like price just went up, like let's try to buy this correction, and then it's gonna fuel it and pump it to even a higher level and so forth. But there's no way that I should be. I will say that although I am still a perma bull, I will say that a good amount of the bull has been beaten out of me. Like I'm definitely done like trying to call bottoms and trying to make a case for any sort of bottom to be formed, because it's just clear that the market is, the behavior, the trend has been established. And I think that there just needs to be a solid amount of time to digest what's going on.
Yeah, and that's really all I'm trying to say is that right there, dude. Like, I know I came off super pessimistic at the beginning, and I think that might have just been some other things playing into that there. I think I was just having a hard...
what things? Like, what is it secretive what you're talking about?
Yeah, and, But anyway...
I don't know, but carry on.
But, like, I'm not trying to be, like, a ultra pessimistic dude. I'm just, like, I'm trying to be realistic about this shit. I'm just trying to be, like, like... It is what it is, man,
It is what it is.
Yeah, just drink my coffee and continue to push on because, as you said, like, things are fine over here. Things are fine over there. But I'm thinking about the person that's not doing fine. You know what I mean? And
yeah, that is something that I definitely forget to think about. I think it should be stated that, for the record, like, you and I think that's what makes this podcast a lot of fun, is that, if you and I had gotten into the market at the same time, it would be very interesting to see what sort of conversations we're having. But the fact that we got in at different times, it's like, we're kind of like going in these flows, and it's like when it's all a bull market, we're all like flowing off of each other's energy, and then there's like a little bit of like digression, and it's like, oh gosh, like some people might be like, dude, like how are you even positive? Like literally 550 was the all-time high, and we hit $32. So I don't know. It's a little bit funny to me just how our conversations, we bring very different perspectives to the table.
Yeah, I sometimes think about the people who got in during like the peak of the hype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think about them, and I
Yeah.
think about what kind of impermanent loss did they suffer if they held
Yeah.
onto their LP tokens? Like what? Because I mean, in comparison, the way MEX fell compared to EGLD,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very curious. I wanted to start doing this from the very beginning just to kind of keep track of stuff, but I think it was the bull market mentality that was like, oh, like I'm not gonna waste my time. Like I got bigger and better things to do. But I'm gonna try to search out there to see if anybody has. Well, you've got your dad's portfolio that you started with one Elrond for him, and I know that you go into it every once in a while. But just really, yeah, the drop and the impermanent loss that kind of came about. On one side, yeah, the people who are really hurting right now, like, yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, like that really sucks. And I don't know, like at that point, you just do have to feel a little bit crazy. But I don't know, like at this point in the market, like imagine somebody who did buy at all-time highs. It's just like, dang, like if they haven't sold anything, like they're freaking champions. Like they're literally just like diamond hands as frick.
oh my god, just true diamond hands right there. Imagine holding from 500 to now, and you're like, I don't know how much longer I can hold on. But I mean, you don't really have a choice anymore. You gotta hold on. If you sell, oh my god.
But look at that, what you just said right there. It's just like, all right, like, and I think the same sentiment could be represented in a roundabout way. The LKMEX exchange, it's like, bro, like, actually, literally, yes. Just so quick update. I do have some LKMEX that I'm farming, and at this point, it's just sitting there as basically a hold, and everything, all of my LKMEX farming rewards, we'll see how I go moving forward, but I have been swapping them for Elrond. So I'm kind of it's in a similar way that you stake Elrond and you get Elrond as a reward, like because the rewards on the DEX are pretty favorable. I'm just doing my best to kind of collect yield in that way.
Yep. But the team has finally released their official blog about what happened, and they went into some great detail to the point where I couldn't really understand most of it because I don't speak that language.
Literally.
Yeah, and like so, but yeah, they went over it. They gave the full details. As you know, they recovered the funds, and here we are today with the fully operating Maiar DEX. Rewards are live again, and they're continuing to push out updates. How do you feel about that whole situation, Steven?
Yeah, it was, as we talked in the last episode, like it was very difficult in the first 24 hours of it. In the first couple hours, it was very much just like game over, like as we talked about in the last episode. But I mean, I don't know, I learned some things through it for sure. Not unfortunately, like apparently I didn't learn much about just like risk mitigation because I can't remember if we talked about it in the episode or at what point we shared. Maybe it was just personally, but yeah, like as soon as the DEX was back up and running, I finished transferring all of my UTK back, or not back, but UTK over to Maiar DEX, and then meta staking went live, and now UTK is live with meta bonding, which is just not too relevant, but it's just I don't know, like almost like same shit different day kind of mentality, because nothing will really ever change what happened. And so I mean, I think it's challenging because for somebody like me, like I've taken, or somebody like me, somebody like us, we're taking risk investing in cryptocurrency, and everybody wants to onboard users and adoption is key. But it's tricky because I'm just being honest, and the market's going to do whatever. It's not like what I say on podcast Elrond is going to make or break the market. But come on, guys, like it sucks. Like Elrond is bleeding edge technology, like where it's high risk and everything. But is that not a true depiction of why onboarding isn't happening? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I mean, I onboarded you technically just by sharing with you Elrond and especially the DEX. But, like, I don't know. It like part of me, it makes me feel better. Like, oh, there was an exploit and it turned out okay. But I'm very hesitant. Like, I don't really want to share with friends and family and with, strangers about Elrond. Like, whenever there was an exploit and something like that happened, like, it's not to say that I haven't and I won't. I mean, literally just this past weekend, I was talking with somebody about cryptocurrency and what it means from a political standpoint and the power that it can give to people. So, like, on one hand, it's like, dang, like that exploit happened and it was challenging for everybody involved. And I think when it comes to sharing it with my family, like, the truth is, like, my investment portfolio is mine, but, like, bro, like, it's for the fam. Like, I've told my family that same sort of thing. Like, yo, like, if this works out for me, like, it's gonna work out for all of us. Like, I'm not just gonna, like, take all of this and just, like, build up my life while the rest of my family just, does whatever. So I think when it comes to my family, I view the risk that I'm taking through investing in Elrond and the DEX as kind of like I'm doing it for the family. And anybody else who I try to onboard, like, it's a difficult conversation because it's very technical and very long trying to convince somebody to buy cryptocurrency and buy Elrond. But I'm still going to talk about Elrond as I did this past weekend. But yeah, just wrapping back around to actually answering the question, I'm back in Maiar DEX. I'm doing the meta staking. I'm farming. I do have some Elrond staked, which is not Maiar DEX, but I mean, again, like, this was not a DEX attack. Like, this was a exploit of smart contracts, just like using the Elrond smart contracts. So, I mean, man, like, it's like I'm straight on the fence, like, straight 50-50 of, like, how I feel about it, what the implications are. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I'll leave it at that and give you a chance to kind of respond.
Yeah, dude, I definitely get how you feel. It's kind of hard to tell people to invest in something that has been through an exploit like that, because you don't want people to be angry at you, really.
Yeah,
you don't
for
want,
sure.
Yeah, you don't want people to think that you gave them bad investment advice.
Yeah.
And I totally get where you're coming from. And yeah, it may take a while to rebuild that trust back up, and yeah, that shadow's gonna be always overhanging on the Elrond ecosystem. But at the same time, I guess you could look at it from another perspective and see the fact that the team hopped right on it and was able to correct these things as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess there's two sides to that coin there, and it's just up to the individual to whether or not they're willing to take that risk. I mean, It is bleeding edge technology, as you said, dude, and, it is risky just to begin with. Even if there was none of these super complicated things like bridges and dexes, and it was just straight up investing and no utility built in, it would, still be a super risky thing to do.
Yeah. And I think that's just, like, the biggest knock on what happened with the exploit. It's like, two obvious blatant cons. Like, it happened, and it happened in a bear market. So the fact that it happened at all is just, as you said, it's kind of this shadow. And I think it might not second guess, I'm not sure what word I'm looking for, but just the idea of onboarding, like, it makes it challenging, because now it's not like as if now, but it does feel a little bit now, because up until now, like, Elrond hadn't had any sort of exploit. And even though there's still technically zero downtime, obviously the exploit still had implications that affected the usability of the protocol. So yes, technically speaking, there is still zero downtime, unlike literally, like, Solana literally goes down. So that's, very much different there. But the fact is, it is still a shadow that, I think I'm surprised how quickly it was put in the past. I think probably the reason that it was put in the past so quickly was because there weren't any kind of true repercussions of it.
Yeah, and which is pretty freaking amazing, to say the least, dude. Yeah, there really weren't any true repercussions, and even price. I was very surprised when things went live again. It kind of was just like, meh. We're
Yeah.
going to continue to just do whatever a bear market does, and there wasn't like a huge dump off. I mean, you can check on the Maiar app and still see how much is staked, and I think it's
Yeah.
over 50% still.
Yeah,
So that's
I'd like to
go ahead.
share some stuff with you because last we spoke, I think we either spoke on the 7th. I'm not sure. The DEX video we put out was on June 10th. So just some quick stats. And this is, as you were just getting excited there, like, yeah, man, like the team saved the funds. I mean, okay, so in a weird sort of way, like now flipping the coin completely, it's like, all right, like was the exploit that happened, like did that end up did it / is it becoming a better thing? Rather, did it help the overall health of the market? Because think about people who were just holding on to Elrond and they didn't really believe in it, or they were just kind of, the straw breaks the camel's back. They were just looking for the reason to just get rid of my Elrond. I'm going to get the heck out of here. Because we want people in this market holding Elrond, participating in farming that are like, hunkered down like motherfuckers that like bought 550 and they've like suffered impermanent loss all the way down here. So I think there is definitely a silver lining to all of this. Just the idea of purging all of the, just kind of like the sickness, those individual investors that really were maybe overinvested, or maybe they're just not as interested in Elrond as maybe something else. So yeah, there were, I think, definitely some silver linings to the whole exploit that happened, as we just kind of talked about there. But yeah, so let me share with you, Alec, and viewers, some data, some information on kind of the metrics since we last spoke on June 10th.
Please do.
So primarily looking from a price standpoint, last time we spoke, Bitcoin was at $30,000. Believe it or not, like when we last spoke, it was just over $30,000, and obviously a couple days or last week, it was at like 17K. I think it bottomed. But just today, all of this information I gathered was from today. So from 30,000 to 20,000, which we're at today, that's down 33%. But Elrond went from 61 to 50 in the same. So this is all the same. Every data that I share here is the same period of time. So Bitcoin is down 33%. Elrond was at $61 on June 10th. Now it's at 50. That's only down 18%. And even MEX, believe it or not, even MEX is outperforming Bitcoin over this period of time.
Oh my!
Yeah, believe it or not, literally, like it's I won't say all the decimal points, but it went from 7.2 to 5.6, and that's down 22%. So still, downward trend, but relative to Bitcoin, I think that's worth noting, because people always say when Bitcoin goes down, alts get hit harder, but and also too, in between that time was an opportunity for 10 days unbonding. Like, there's plenty of time for people to fear sell, and I think it's definitely worth noting that Elrond, even MEX, is outperforming Bitcoin over this, period of time. It's less than a month, but I think that's still a little bit significant. What do you think about just that disparity between 33% versus Elrond only at down 18 and MEX even down 22%?
Yeah, I just think that shows strength to the overall ecosystem and the resistance to selling within the community as a whole. I don't think many people are willing to give up their EGLD. I know I'm not. I see it as pretty precious, and I almost considered doing unbonding and selling around the $60 range, which I kind of wish I did, and then I was going to buy back in. It's not like I was going to go anywhere with that USD. It was just going to be to acquire more EGLD. Yeah. But yeah, dude, it's really cool to see the conviction that people have, or I think at least that's what I see it as. It looks like that's conviction to me. And yeah, man, it shows strength, and hopefully when things come back, Bitcoin may go up 100%, but hopefully Elrond is going up like 250%.
I mean, Elrond has only been around for 3 years or so, but I mean, that technically is the precedent that Elrond has set. I saw somebody online basically say that Bitcoin is tied to US dollar and altcoins are basically just like a multiplier. So, I mean, especially for different coins protocols like Elrond that are definitely, I would say, under recognized, like, man, like I definitely expect for that sort of market dynamic to happen where, I mean, as Elrond, which I believe Elrond will continue to climb ranks in market cap, like it will for sure outperform Bitcoin. But then two final metrics that I want to share with you, some more silver linings, and you already alluded to this. Again, this is the same time frame. So June 10th is the time that I'm looking at, and this was just days. This was the day we released the MEX video, so it was literally just in the wake of everything happening. So Staked EGLD on June 10th was 12.55 million. And it's increased to 13.29 million.
Huh.
So it's literally over this span of time is increased. The percent staked has increased nearly 6%. So, 6 may be a small number, but I think that everything considered, the bear market, the exploit alone, the fact that Stake EGLD increased from 12.5 to 13.2 million, like that's 700,000 plus Elrond that, I don't know, maybe, whales came in and just bought the low prices. Maybe people were selling. I mean, it's all just market dynamics. But also, too, the total users over that time increased from 1.6 to 1.7, plus 2% or so. So total users, total addresses still going up. But definitely, I think that the bigger, obviously, the more significant metric there is that 6% of the supply has, or rather, there's been a 6% increase in the amount staked. That's gonna have huge impact down the road, dude. Like 800,000 Elrond are no longer for sale. Like, yes, there's a 10-day unbonding period. They're not stuck in cement forever, but all of these effects are really going to stack up, and I'm excited to see, whenever it is, we're all ready.
Yeah, dude, and I'm actually on Twitter right now looking, and what I'm kind of confused at about those numbers is Benjamin just made a tweet saying that 1 million users milestone unlocked for the Get Maiar app. So when you say users, does that refer to like people who just have EGLD?
Yeah, so Benjamin is referring to the application, so the users on the application. So the metric that I just shared includes the Get Maiar users, but it also includes every address. So that includes just like the Elrond web wallet, just anybody going online and creating a new wallet. So that is, I mean, also too a big plus that Get Maiar, the phone application, passed 1 million users. Like that's significant. It's only been out for one and some change, maybe close to 1.5 years. But yeah, so the metric that I mentioned was total addresses. But yeah, that 1 million users on the Get Maiar app was recently passed, along with I think 50 million transactions on the Elrond blockchain.
And you know what's kind of crazy to think about too? We're rapidly approaching November, and you know what that means, dude?
I think it sounds like you're happy to share what you're gonna say, but I think that it's a negative thing, right?
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, it's going to start unlocking. I mean, you can look at it either way that you like, negative or negative or positive. Hopefully the whole community just doesn't start dumping locked MEX. But I just think it's cool that it's almost been an entire year since the DEX has started, and that means MEX is locked MEX will be able to start being unlocked. What, 33% of it?
I can't remember. I mean, it's November hits its first unlock, and then from there, it's like 16.66% every month or something. So yeah, I like that your tone there is positive, because I know that a lot of people are looking at that unlock with a little bit of worry. But I mean, and over the past year, there is, I think, negative ideas about, oh my gosh, like the LKMEX exchange came along and allowed for people to get rid of their LKMEX. But I think that, and let me know what you think, but I think the fact that LKMEX allowed for people who are not long-term believers to just get rid of it because they just wanted liquidity. Like, I think that in a roundabout way, the LKMEX exchange's existence, like, will actually really help to bolster MEX and obviously LKMEX too. Because imagine if it didn't exist, you have to wait a whole year and you're just, waiting to just, oh my gosh, I just want to get rid of my LKMEX and get it out there. But the LKMEX came along and gave people a shortcut. So I think now once the true, written unlock schedules start to come, like, I think that there's been a great amount of LKMEX that has really shifted from people who are just like, man, frick this LKMEX first class citizenship, to people who are like literally just like chugging gallons of hopium. But like, dude, like, I think that LKMEX exchange will help with those unlock schedules.
Oh, I think so too, and I think it did weed out a lot of the people from the beginning who just wanted to get rid of LKMEX. Yeah, like you said, man, it provided that shortcut, and now I think it's also, yeah, it's gonna help keep that massive, just dump from happening. So
Yeah.
at least I really hope that is the case, and yeah, dude, I do have a positive tone about it because like I'm not worried about it, man.
What's your plan? Are you gonna unlock? Are you a freaking first class citizen? You putting your foot down? Any ideas?
I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I really see no point in me unlocking at this point in time,
Yeah.
But also the APR continues to go down in the LKMEX farm, and so it kind of makes it less, enticing to be
Yeah.
in there. But at the same time, who else is offering me that kind of APR? So
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I don't know why this visual is just a visual representation. It's like, I don't know if you've ever done this, but dropped food coloring into like a glass of water and like seeing it kind of like plume out. It's pretty cool.
yeah.
So yeah, like, it's almost like whenever the DEX first launched, like, it was this big pot of just like completely still water, and you've got all these separate colors of drops like kind of falling in, and just, they're very defined and they kind of stay in their own lane. But like, the market is just this metaphorical whirlwind. And I think all of these different factors of like, what's going on with LKMEX, the LKMEX exchange, what happened with Maiar, what is Elrond, like, all of these things are just like over the year, like, they've just slowly churned the water. And I think everything is just going to boil down to just this average. And for me anyway, I think over the past months, I thought that, and I still kind of think that, and going back in time, like, I think that everything will be as expected, and the MEX will kind of like have its impacts of people unlocking. But as we push through here, and as the bear market kind of resets everybody's psychology, it's like, man, like, the market is literally just averaging out. And yeah, man, like, I think that really gets me excited about just what the result of all that will be. Like, we don't have any one true majority. Like, we don't have like this huge pocket of my majority who just want to unlock their LKMEX and get it out of here. It's like they already had the chance to do that through LKMEX exchange. Yep. So you know what I mean? Like, it's just now the water, it's not very pretty, but the water is just brown. It's like, who knows where anybody is, like, but I mean, it's almost like, all right, like, now everybody who's truly strapped into the roller coaster, like, we're all like looking out, and we're like seeing everybody who's kind of like, tink, 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 tink. And it's like, all right, we're ready. Like, however, much longer we need to go. Like, it's, maybe that's the way to look at it, is, the bear market goes down, but, like, the higher you go, it's like, all right, gosh, we got like, 5 minutes, in a real roller coaster. It's like we got a year of bear market, but, the higher we go, it's like, woo, like, it's like the more chance we have to, just potential energy,
Yeah, and the lower things go, the more potential there is when you buy it as well. Like,
Yes, yeah.
I mean, just continue to look at the all-time high, and just maybe I know one day it's going to return there, and that's why I'm just waiting for lower prices, because I really think this is my opportunity to scoop these bad boys up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And really get a nice sized chunky portfolio, or just a chunky bag of EGLD going for the road ahead.
Yeah.
And as you said, man, like, yeah, we're gonna keep riding this bear market. Maybe God knows how long, man. And there's, I'm just waiting for the right time to go ahead and take a real deep plunge in there and really strap myself in once I do so, and
Oh yeah.
wait for what the future has.
Yeah, and there is also too, the LKMEX is a literal, like, almost like it's at this point a money multiplier. I mean, you put one Elrond in, and the worse the rate is for selling LKMEX, the more kind of multiplier your money becomes. So that's another element that's adding to, like, what will happen to LKMEX and MEX over the years.
Are you referring to people trading their EGLD for LKMEX because you would get more on the LKMEX exchange?
Yes, precisely. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it is, isn't it? Yeah, like
It's
you
kind
get
of fun.
quite a bit more.
Like, it's kind of fun. Like, whenever I bought back into LKMEX last month, it was like, all right, it was this dollar amount of Elrond, but it was kind of fun to be like, oh, like, it's not why I did it, but it was kind of cool to be like, oh, like, it kind of like it made it a little bit bigger. It's locked, but it's bigger.
I've heard it. I think I read that someone said it went up like 300% for them, like, which was pretty crazy.
I think I know who you're talking about, and I mean, it's deceptive because it's not liquidity. So
Yeah.
let's look at numbers once the unlock schedule happens and everything. But you know, it's factual. Like, the numbers are the numbers. Numbers don't lie. But if you start to ask more questions about, like, oh, but what if you actually really wanted to take that locked asset and make it liquidity? It's like, all right, you're not really up 350%.
No, you're not. But I mean, you could also look at it in the way of, hey, it's producing a lot more locked mechs, and so maybe you can start trading that locked mechs for EGLD. And I don't know, there's maybe some type of way to take advantage of that system. I'm not willing to go take the risk and take advantage of the system because I appreciate having liquidity, and I appreciate the number of EGLD I have.
Yeah. Honestly, man, this has been a great conversation, but I want to at least touch on some developments in the ecosystem. Is there anything that you has like caught your eye?
Not specifically, dude. I did see that, there's a new Launchpad project coming out. I myself am not a big gamer, but obviously the gaming community is a huge platform to tap into.
Big opportunity, yeah. Yeah, so that's the most recent launch pad. The last one was Ithium, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I'm not really a gamer at all either. Like, I think my two favorite games of all time were Roller Coaster Tycoon on the PC, and then Modern Warfare 2 was, like, I think a global phenomenon.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, I mean, this Cantina Royale is looking to be, I don't know, it's grabbed my interest. I mean, not only is it kind of cool that Elrond Apes is going to be, like, integrated into this game, but I mean, that obviously speaks to the idea of, more use case for NFTs. And obviously, we've seen some of that going on. There's this Maiar cart that I think the Hog homies are going to be integrated into. So I don't know, like, even though I haven't been a gamer, I think that the fact that we're in the Elrond ecosystem, like, I think some of these things might really start to entice me to, I mean, whether it be a little bit per day, like, I don't know. I think it's still exciting to have these opportunities come along and be like, hey, like, this is out here. So I don't know, like, do you think that, a question is, like, are you enticed do you think that you might start to play some of these games?
The idea of all this stuff is super, super cool. I will definitely give it that.
Yeah.
I think I would love to play some of these games. I would love to play Maiaro Kart. Is that?
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, something like that. I would love to play that game because it's built on Unreal Engine 3, which is, like, apparently the graphics are supposed to be super dope on it if you have, like, the proper computer to run it and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think it's really cool that people are taking these, 3D arts, and now they're implementing them into a gamescape. And,
yeah,
the blockchain verifies that's your ape. You're the only one who's going to use that ape in that gamescape, and, like, I think it's dope. And yeah, man, I do want to try out some of these games because I believe a lot of these games are Are they free?
Yeah, man. I took a little bit of a excerpt out of the Launchpad article. It's a little bit long, so I might read it or I might paraphrase. But can I share with you
Yeah,
what they say
please.
about it?
Yeah.
So yeah, free to play and play to earn metaverse arcade for the next billion people, as it says. So I think before I talk about it, I at least want to highlight that it says the most important part is that the interaction is so seamless and rewarding that new players won't have to know about blockchain components, but they'll be able to explore all of the benefits. And that's like a big, I think Benjamin talked about that, and I know he talked about that. I think it was the London Real interview we've mentioned a few times, but I think that is a huge, massive key to blockchain adoption. And I've talked, I know for sure about, I like what ZoidPay is doing in the same way. They're opening doors for people to interact with, engage with, and use cryptocurrency without needing anybody to know what they're doing. And not so much not know what they're doing, but not being familiar with the underlying protocol. Like, oh, what's cryptocurrency? Oh, I'm even using cryptocurrency. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the railways for all of this to form. And I think that's really, I'm really excited to see how it plays out on Cantina Royale. But just altogether, just if we can get people to use Elrond without having to ask themselves, do I want to engage with cryptocurrency, because they might have some worries about it. If we can get people to just circumvent that question altogether, like, there's no reason that's not going to onboard a lot of users.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely one of the greatest ways to be doing it as well, is through a playable platform.
Free
Something
too.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
and hopefully it's a great game that's able to like really bring people in. I have not
It
looked at any of
sounds
the gameplay.
fun. Like, I haven't either, but just like just looking at the visuals, like, it looks like people have got weapons, swords, like they're jumping, they're attacking. Like, it looks like a cartoon-esque version of something like oh my gosh, this goes to show that I'm not a gamer. But what is like the big one that has Royale, some sort
Oh,
of
Fortress
Fortnite,
game.
Fortnite,
There we go.
dude.
And dude, I think something very, very important to point out on Fortnite is the amount of money people are willing to spend.
Yes.
Fucking just outfits for their characters. I mean, if those people who are already willing to spend that money on what could almost be considered an NFT,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they be willing to spend money on an NFT within the blockchain?
Yeah, dude. That is a big opportunity, and in an even more special way, as with now I forgot the name of the game again. It's beside the point. Fortnite. Like, if you have the money, you can buy that clothing item. I'm really not familiar with Fortnite, what you can buy and everything, but say you're playing Cantina Royale or another game that comes out of Elrond that uses NFTs. It's like, oh, like, I'm sorry, you want to use like an Elrond ape with this characteristic. It's like, you can't buy it. Like, you have to seek out somebody who owns that trait and like buy it from that person, like peer to peer. Like, there's not this centralized idea of we're the gaming or like we design the game and we'll just say everybody that can buy this, they can come to the shop and everybody can get this trait. It's like, yeah, I mean, the game is there, but like, if you want these specific character or these specific traits or whatever, it's like, you gotta go out and buy it. You gotta go find it. Like, so obviously these games will help with Elrond adoption, which again, emphasis is that the more use case for Elrond, like, the more resource, the more of that supply is going to be held in wallets and new wallets. So it's like the more supply will be taken off of the exchanges. But then obviously too, like, the integration of NFTs with games and gamification, like ZoidPay says, like, it's going to increase, or it's going to help the entire NFT market too. Like, it's I don't know, man. This is it's fun to talk about because just everything that's kind of going on is it really, kind of reminds myself anyway, just like keeping the eye on the prize and just like settling down and being like, oh my gosh, like this is really going to be an exciting space. It's very
Yeah,
small right now.
yeah. The gamification of the Elrond ecosystem is going to be really dope, and I'm really excited to see what this Cantina Royale stuff brings. But I heard you mention ZoidPay and Zoidsters a couple times. I know you're pretty excited about that, Steven.
Yeah, yeah.
What's driving that excitement, dude?
Well, yeah, I mean, before I move on to ZoidPay, because I want to talk about some people have been asking to what the heck is up with these Zoidsters. We have some dates when they're coming out, and I just want to remind everybody, even though obviously in our interview with Edward, he talked about all of this stuff, I want to bring it back around to get people excited again about what's starting to come to fruition. But before that, I want to end with the Cantina Royale, just sharing. I won't paraphrase the whole. I'll just share a short bit. But yeah, Cantina Royale is a free-to-play cross-platform tactical action shooter. Its beautiful graphics, addictive gameplay, already enough to earn it as a place at the top of its genre immediately after its launch in July. And genre isn't games within crypto. Its genre is video games. And I mean, obviously they're trying to excite everybody, but yeah, just the idea of what Fortnite did and how they showed that's clearly a desire for people to play that type of game. I think that gives reason to believe that isn't just blowing smoke. But it goes on to say, but what will make it even better is the integration of Elrond blockchain technology. Characters and items become upgradable NFTs. Players are able to buy, sell, or lend them. The game has its own economy based on the CRT token, which players are buying to pay for upgrades and new items and earn as rewards for winning PvE or PvP games. The lending element, this is cool. The lending element will be essentially for onboarding free-to-play users. Think of it as an owner of an NFT lending his racing car to a talented driver and sharing race prizes. So it's like, all right, like, that's, dude, like, I'd be so imagine, because Elrond Apes is the only one that's been announced, although I'm sure that other NFT projects will be integrated. But it's like, all right, I don't. I'll be realistic. Like, I have 10 Elrond Apes. I don't remember how many I have, but it's like, well, I can't play with all 10 of them at once, so I'll lend them to different people on the platform. Like, literally, dude, like, this will create passive income for people who own, for example, Elrond Apes. Like, oh, like, I'm just going to put all of these up, and as it says, the lending element will basically be, think of it as an owner lending his racing car to a talented driver and sharing race prizes. Like, literally, I can just put my Elrond Apes out there, and if people want to use them, like, it's like an agreed upon, we share the prizes. And I wouldn't have maybe done it otherwise. Like, maybe I'm just not interested in playing Cantina Royale at all, but I'll still be able to collect. I assume the prize will be in like this CRT token. But yeah, man, like the idea of lending NFTs sounds pretty like a perspective that I didn't really like consider as yet another opportunity of added value.
Yeah, and it definitely removes that roadblock for the people who don't have any NFTs.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's a great point, because as I was talking about earlier, it's like, oh, like I'm a new user and this is a free to play. I'm not going to go on and buy a freaking Elrond ape that's like 50 Elrond for this particular trait. It's like, oh, there's a whole, I imagine there's going to be like a lending page with basically just like characters to choose from and different rates. I'm sure the NFT owner will be able to set, similar to royalties, like, oh, like if you want to borrow this NFT, like this is the share, this is the split that we take. And man, that like literally, dude, that I'm really excited by that, man. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the gameplay looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I think I need
It might already be out there. I don't know.
I think if there are not, demos or anything, like I'm pretty sure that there are at least like videos of what the graphics will look like.
Exciting stuff, dude.
Yeah, but just ending that finally about the Cantina Royale. So we're still in phase one. We're still on the launch pad. The next thing will actually be on July 8th, which is a Friday. I think it's next Friday. And that's when the KYC ends. So again, we're in the United States, so we don't really know the dynamics of how everything flows. But yeah, so we're just in phase one of this project hitting the Elrond blockchain. But July 8th is when the KYC ends. Sometime between then, the lottery winners will be able to, buy their tokens. And then phase two will begin. It says phase two to be revealed 3 days before KYC ends. So July 5th, we'll have more understanding on phase two, which encompasses buying lottery tickets, lottery results plus ticket claim, price. And this is more, everybody's involved. This is just Maiar DEX stuff now, like price discovery, like we saw with Ethereum, adding liquidity, and then swaps enabled. And, at that point, kind of the market is going to get after it.
Yeah, dude. And I haven't, some of these weird coins that like Ethereum hasn't been doing well as a launchpad token. So I'm really interested to see how CRT does. I guess it really just depends on the amount of people who are playing the game and actually utilizing the token.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one way to beat the bear market, just distract yourself. So just wake up depressed, like, the market's red again. Like, I'm just going to game on Cantina Royale for 12 hours and go back to bed. Like, don't do that. Like, that doesn't sound conducive to a healthy lifestyle. But I just think the idea of giving people, if people can't look at the market and be excited about price, then hey, like, they can get online, play with their friends, play these fun games, and pass the time.
For sure, dude. And it's gonna be a cool launchpad project, and I'm ready for it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, wrapping around to the segue you made to the ZoidPay progress. So ZoidPay is releasing their Zoidster NFT project. Excited to see this kind of come out because this is probably not the first, but this is one of the key elements to Edward talking all about the gamification layer of ZoidPay, and that's going to be integrated with the new application for your phone that they roll out. And I think it was either the interview we did with Edward or one of the others. He basically said that as soon as the phone application is released, at that point, everything, kind of all of the gears will be set in place for the ZoidPay ecosystem to start turning, which includes the bank that they've acquired, includes every detail of the gamification layer. And that's all still planned to be out by the end of 2022. So it's not a promise, maybe. If I think if people view these things as promises, that might be not the way to set yourself up for being patient. Nonetheless, I just want to highlight just a few more of these utilities, for people wondering, what are the Zoidsters? What are they going to do? So yeah, we'll put a link in the description to learn more about the Zoidsters. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, one of the NFTs will give the owner a shopping pool, which, if you understand, that means you get 100,000 ZPay for free, staked at 15% APY. That's pretty cool. So one of the Zoidsters will have that. Other than that, 20 NFTs with 1,000 ZPay tokens as an airdrop, 4 NFTs with 5,000 ZPay tokens as an airdrop, 1 NFT will have 10,000 ZPay tokens as an airdrop, and then other things like Edward mentioned in our interview is the idea of, for those that own the Zoidsters, there's going to be staking boosts of up to 5%. Like, let's say you stake ZPay at 12% APY, but with this Zoidster, whatever the boost might be, your APY effectively becomes 17%. So I'm not sure the numbers on how many of those might have, but it's worthwhile to know that this will not be the only benefit. The Zoidsters collection will have a lot of different utilities, and they'll be announced regularly. Other things like increased cash back during the shopping season, which I'm not sure. Oh, the shopping season, like Christmas and stuff. And then 0 fees, and then random airdrops too. And then at the bottom, it even says there's an NFT that might even have a ticket to an F1 race. So definitely interested to see and learn more about the Zoidsters. The art honestly looks pretty darn cool. Like the article that will be in the description talks more about the artist behind it, but it looks as though the majority of these, if not all of them, are hand drawn, and they all have quite a lot of character. Like they're kind of silly, goofy looking little creatures, little Zoidsters. But yeah, I mean, I think there's always something to be said about an NFT project that's bringing true original art rather than just like something computer generated. But yeah, looking forward to the Zoidsters coming out, but also to, they will only be mintable using ZPay. So that's going to increase demand for ZPay. And also too, I don't know if this is set in stone, but there might be another shopping pool sale in the month of July for ZPay. So we all saw kind of what happened to the price of ZPay once the first shopping pool, or not the first, but the most recent one happened. So I think that when it comes to questioning what to buy, when to buy, whether or not to buy, just thinking about what demand the asset might have. And I think that it makes some good sense to buy some ZPay, like to be dollar cost averaging into ZPay. Clearly there are some events coming very soon that will demand people to hold ZPay, to buy ZPay if they don't, have enough. And then, aside from that, I'm really excited for this application, the smartphone application, to hit the ground, because I think that's when everything is really going to be tied together. And then obviously this bank, this brick and mortar bank that ZoidPay has acquired, like they clearly have big plans, and they shared with us how closely tied they are with the Elrond team being in Romania. And then I think on one of the last episodes, we talked about how many different advisors they're onboarding on their team, their plans for, new hires, their plans to move into new offices. And it just seems as though like they have really deep roots. They're very connected with, all these different not protocols, but projects within the Elrond ecosystem too. Which I think just speaks to Edward in our interview with him, just talks about how there's no room for competition. Like, yes, there might be buys and sells and reallocations of portfolio, but this is truly it's a really incredible ecosystem, whether it be the companies that are coming out individually, partnering up, the community like you and me. Like, we're in a bear market, but I think that something that just continues to excite me is this feeling that work is really tangibly still being done. Like there's a lot still going on, and it's a lot to look forward to throughout the rest of the year. And man, once that price starts to look better, once, the diamond hands start to gain the majority, I really think that the next pump, the next market, next solid bull trend is really, man, I think we talked about it ever since we started this channel, but I think the next wave of adoption is just going to be just hugely significant.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see all these utilities that they're adding to the ZoidPay NFTs too. Like a lot of NFTs out there don't really have nice, solid utility, but it seems like they're really trying to change the game up here. And I'm really excited for their UX and UI of their app too, because judging on their website alone, it looks like they really got a solid grasp on, what makes things easy to navigate and what makes it, simply just, beautiful in its simplicity. And I think they're really going to probably hit a home run on their app. And I'm just looking forward to see what they definitely bring out.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there's just so many things that we could talk about. There's lots of smaller projects and a lot of development going on, especially on the developers side. But, if you are new to the channel, obviously welcome. If you've made it this far into the video, I think that's really, really great. And we're happy to have you. And kind of looking out for some of those newer people. Maybe if you've discovered Elrond recently, I want to draw everybody's attention, and I'm going to put this in the description, because this website Elrond Wiki has been around for a little bit, but it's just I think it's just a group of people who are passionate about Elrond, and they just have a lot of articles written just giving understanding of some of these things, like two specific items that stood out to me just at a quick glance was they have an article that talks about what is an ESDT. If you're around, you know that an ESDT is Elrond Standard Digital Token, but what exactly does this mean? There's an article that talks about what is an ESDT, what things can you do with an ESDT, and then another one that stood out to me was just about choosing a staking provider. You go on the Maiar app and you see all these providers and you just, which one? Like, why do I choose this one over that one? They have another article that helps people understand staking providers and which one to choose and what things to look at. So if you're new to Elrond, definitely welcome. There's a lot of excitement going on in the space. And if there's one thing that I think is going to help with onboarding is it's just going to give people mediums, avenues to learn more. And so a big thank you to whoever put the work into Elrond Wiki. But yeah, definitely check out the description and see what you might learn, maybe what things you didn't know that you can.
Dude, yeah, there's been a lot of people that have built a lot of beautiful things to help with the onboarding on the Elrond ecosystem. It's really awesome to just see these random people just start, growing a passion for some project, and then it turns into, these things that the community just can't seem to do without. Like the LKMEX exchange was one of them, and then you got eCompass, and you got I've never used Jex exchange.
Me neither.
It's a peer-to-peer way of trading ESDTs, and like it's awesome. There's like you said, work is still getting done, man.
Yeah, that Jex exchange, I'm not sure why I looked over it, but I think that Benjamin either retweeted Elrond, but definitely there was some highlight for the Jex exchange. And then also too, it wasn't the last time we talked. Just before we released the exploit video, we had that chat with Go Guy Go, and I know that he talked some about the Protero DeFi that's going on over there too. So that's another element, like, when it comes to bear markets, as I was saying, like, it gives me a chance to just find my foundation, find my happy place. I'm, for one, not in the business of looking into speculative assets. Not to say that anything we've mentioned is speculative, but it's the bear market. Like, we're all kind of pushing for longevity here, and I don't want to rush into something that could be, a huge mistake. Not, again, there's a lot good going on, but just the idea of being patient and just being thoughtful with our movements.
Yeah, and now is definitely a good time to be thoughtful with your movement, because no one can really tell you which way things are going to go right now, because everything's up in the air. So, depending on where you sit, do whatever is necessary to properly mitigate your risk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, cool, man. Thank you again, Alec, for your time. It's a fun conversation. Like, the majority of this was just like chatting about the ecosystem. Glad we got to talk about some, developments and updates with these protocols. But yeah, man, it's always a lot of fun just to sit here and just hang out and invite everybody in through the podcast.
Yeah, man. As we continue to chug through this bear market, guys, stay strong, and things always do turn around eventually, and this is just the nature of the beast. So
yes, sir.
Ride that bear and look out for that bull, because it's somewhere on that horizon.
Hell yeah, dude. That's what I feel. It's just like the huge winning emphasis is just, whether it be crypto or your own personal endeavors, your career, whatever it is, like, keep pushing when the sentiment is down, because whenever we aren't being fed by this green market euphoria, it's easy to get careless and to think that there doesn't need to be any thought put into our strategy. But the most important part is, whenever it does feel a little bit down, like, man, just keep pushing, because I think that there are rivers that flow. So keep looking for that river and become that river.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, it's been a solid podcast, man.
Hell yeah. Episode 12. We are out of here. I guess we'll still wait for the next episode. Hopefully we'll have some clarity on some Maiar exchange features that have been purported to come. MEX economic model, like, man, if MEX economic model, if we don't have any clarity on that by the time we see each other again, I'm gonna have some choice words for you, Benjamin. All right, Alec, love you, brother. Love everybody out there, the community. Be strong. Thanks for an awesome episode, everyone.
Love you too, man. Catch you later.
Peace.